What's up, guys? We have a very special video for you today. We're going to be going over 4 different wide receiver press releases. We're going to talk about the exact technique of the press release, the name of the press release, and when to actually use it in a game time scenario. I'm also going to show you a full speed example of the press release so you guys know how to apply it and how it should look. So this video is going to give you a ton of value. I hope it helps out. But also, fellas, if you're a receiver and you would like to train with us this offseason, we're coming out to 15 different states for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. So check out that very first link in the description below. We're coming out to Miami, Florida, San Francisco, California, Las Vegas, Nevada. Then we'll be heading out to Charlotte, North Carolina, Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Chicago, Illinois, Buffalo, New York, Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Then we'll be coming out to Detroit, Michigan, Boise, Idaho, and Los Angeles, California. So again, if you guys would like to sign up, get all the information, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you out there. Let's get started with this video. All right, guys, so how this video is going to go is this darker shade of orange cone is going to act as like the line of scrimmage where the receiver is going to stand, and then this lighter shade of orange cone is going to act like where the DB stands, so you guys know when to actually apply this release and the exact situation of when to use it. So this first release is going to be called kind of a crossover split release, okay? So what I mean by crossover is like it's a way to close the distance with the DB. So a split release, let's start from the very beginning. Split release is when, like, let's say you're lined up on the line of scrimmage. You could use a regular split release when a guy's right up, head up, press right in front of your face, and it essentially is when both feet split, making contact with the ground at the exact same time. So it's kind of a way to freeze a DB and be able to react and go in opposite directions because your feet are in a balanced position. So you guys would do that, like I said, when a guy's right up in your face. So how you do the split release is your front foot that's lined up, let's say it's the left foot, obviously it's switched if it's the other way. Your front foot goes out and your back foot goes up, splitting, both feet make contact at the exact same time. So we could go this way, we could go here. If he gets hands, I'm in a balanced position. So if you like that release and that's something you're comfortable with, but you got a DB who lines up 2 yards away, how can you actually apply it? And that's what this release is for. So this DB's inside shade, the first step of this release is going to be a crossover step at him. Then what we are going to be doing is splitting my feet. So it's a crossover step to attack his leverage in closed space. Anytime a DB is inside shade, let's say we got to run an outside route like a fade. We want to try to make him think we're going to the inside. That's the best way to get him to move. Best way to force him to react is make him think we are going where he doesn't want us to go. Then obviously that split release is a great way to hesitate and get him to freeze for a second, right? So we come off the ball here. We close the space. Remember, close, split. Now, let's say that DB jumps to the outside when we do that. I could take the inside release and go because I'm at that position of balance, but also it's a way to freeze him. Maybe when you do this type of release, if he's going to hold that leverage to the inside, you go here, you split, and maybe you give a little head and shoulder fake to the outside to hold him, and then you take that outside release. So it's a way to bring that line of scrimmage to him, but still apply that split release that we love to use. So that's when you would use it. That's the technique behind it. Now I'm going to show you this thing full speed. All right, guys, so this next press release is going to be a situation where this DB is right up in front of my face, not giving me any room to breathe, not giving me any room to work. He essentially, like, not like the last example where he was 2 yards away. This is, he closed the distance himself and is trying to just get hands on us, press us right off the line, and disrupt timing with the quarterback. So how do we work against that? So this is going to be a release called a lateral crossover move. So what we got, remember the light orange cone is representing the DB. You're lined up right here, not giving you any room. Let's say, for example, we would like to take an inside release, right? So when this DB's head up coverage, we don't necessarily know what his leverage is, right? Sometimes a DB might try to disguise his leverage. Sometimes he might be just head up man-to-man coverage, and maybe he's trying to disguise it. Maybe that's just how he's playing me. He's giving me, and honestly, I feel like that's a gift as a receiver because he's letting you go whichever way you could work a release that could give you an inside or an outside release. And that's why this crossover release is good because it goes both ways. You could use it for an outside release or an inside release. So you line up here, right in front of your face. Now, do we need to close any distance with this guy? No, he's right up in front of my face. If he's 2 yards away, your crossover move. So a crossover is you want to step in the direction you're going first. So we want to take an inside release. Let's say it's like a post route. I want to step inside, outside, then go. I want to make him think that we are taking an outside release to get him to move off his platform so I could take that inside release freely with some separation. So when he's closing the space for us and he's not giving us any room to breathe, we don't got to go vertical. If he's 2 yards away with my crossover, I got to go vertical and attack him and close that distance with him. But if he already did that for me, I'm not going to close distance and just run into him. I'm going to make him miss laterally by stepping outside of his frame. Whenever you have a press coverage DB who's right up in front of your face, think of it like driving. You got 3 lanes on a highway. You got the left lane, middle lane, right lane. Our goal is to get this DB to move to the right lane so we could go to the left lane. So when I do this crossover and it's lateral, I step here, it's a lateral step. We're staying like on the line of scrimmage. When I throw to the outside, I actually got to step outside of his frame and sell with that upper half because that's the only way to get him to move so I can go. So that's how the release would work. Now, if you wanted to take an outside release, you would just do the opposite. You would step outside first, step in the direction you were going first. So he's here, I would go 1-2, right? Could be either way. Inside release, 1-2. Outside release, 1-2. It just depends on which way you are trying to release when he's head up. Now, if he's inside shade right up in your face like that, what do you think you do? You take the outside release and you go out in, right? So I'm going to show you how this release is going to look full speed. Lateral crossover is a great release to use when you have a guy who closed the space for us, right in my face, head up press. All right, guys, so this next release that we're going to be going over is going to build off of something called a kick step. So a kick step is not a false step. Don't let any coach tell you that this is a false step when you are facing press coverage. This is a part of the release, but this is a kick step vertical crossover. So it builds off of the last release that we did. I personally like this when a DB is inside shade about 2 to 3 yards off and we got to go. So remember, when he's inside shade man-to-man coverage and I have space right here, what do I got to do with that space? I have to make sure that I close the space and get onto his toes, get into his cushion because that's more likely to make him move and I could stay tight to him to be able to get up into my outside release on this route. They call that getting skinny when you are running tight to that defender. It helps you stack over the top of him. Let's say, for example, let's say you had to run like a 10-yard out, right? And so this DB's 2 yards away. If you do a lateral crossover and he sits there, what can he do? He could cut you off to the angle and force you to the sideline. Now, let's say you step onto his toes, you get up into the route, but you stay skinny. Even if he's right on your hip, you have more space to the sideline. So at the break point, you can lean into him. Maybe we stack him and we give him a move at the top, whatever the case may be, but it makes life easier when we are getting skinny on my route. So we have to close that space off the line. It starts off the line. So that's where we got to get vertical on the crossover. Now, getting vertical on the crossover requires some explosion. That's where the kick step comes into play. So you line up here, inside foot's up, you kick behind and lean into this front foot. So you kick and dip. Kick, dip, 1, it's a short step inside your frame, push 2 as we're closing the space, then we're up into this route. You could do this on an inside breaking route, you do this on a fade, do this on an outside breaking route, you do it on any situation where he's 2 yards off inside shade and you want to take that outside release, okay? So I'm going to show you how this is going to look full speed. Kick step, vertical crossover move. All right, guys, so this next release you're going to be talking about is a hezzy skip and go release. So I like this release, honestly, when you have that same inside shade press coverage DB and he's giving you some space, maybe about 2 yards away. So this hezzy move is just a way to kind of change tempo on a DB and to force a reaction out of this DB. So what a hezzy skip would be, it builds off of that kick step that we just talked about, right? So you guys remember the kick step. You kick, you lean into this front foot, and it's going to be essentially a hop with your left foot. So you're going to step with this left foot and you're going to try to step at a vertical 45-degree angle to force this DB to make a decision. What do I mean by make a decision? I will explain that as this release goes on, but that's the mechanics of it, right? So what we would do is we're going to kick, hop, take off. And that step is what we call a hezzy skip. You are skipping, it's a hesitation, and you are trying to read the DB and force a decision out of him. So how many times have you seen a wide receiver come off the ball, they do this, they skip, and then they throw a crossover and take the inside release? DBs have seen it a million times too. So as a receiver, we can use that to our advantage in making him make a decision. So when he's inside shade guarding us, right, he's got a decision to make. Hold the leverage or jump and try to take away the fade. So let's say we're running a fade, and that's when I like this hezzy skip and go release, when we have to run a fade route. Love it on a fade. So you could use it on other routes, but I like it on a fade route or any route where you're comfortable taking an inside release, and I'll explain why. So the reason why we tack 45 is because he's got a decision to make right here. If he jumps, what do you think we do? And he overplays the outside. Do we just keep going? No, we react. This is a great release for wide receivers who have that great reaction ability. So I come off the ball. Let's pretend this DB jumps. He sees me skip, bam, put the brakes on. Inside release, and I go. You're reading him with this hesitation skip. Let's say he stays to the inside. I go here, I skip, just take off. You're reading him for that hesitation step, and it happens fast, but it forces a reaction out of the DB by going vertically. Now, what do I mean by going vertically forces a reaction to him? We can't go lateral. Here's why. You do this, and you go here, he could sit, and still cut you off. Because what are we not doing? Getting skinny. We're not attacking him. We're not closing that distance. This is a way to close distance. You're just doing it at a different angle. So you could do that hezzy go, hezzy cross, however you think of it. It's a reactionary release that gets a read on the DB. I'm going to show you how this is going to look full speed. All right, guys, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. We always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like to come out and train with us in 15 different states across the U.S. this year, check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to have you out to one of our off-season QB and wide receiver camps. So again, very first link in that description below. I'll see you guys next time.